It was a real white knuckler.
And then you just had to determine, was it rumbling on the right side or is it rumbling on the
so you
left
won't
side?
care. Don't I have to go to that meeting?
Okay. Call to order the regular meeting of the Tracy City Council at 6:30 p.m. on Monday, February 10th, 2020. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do you have anyone in vacation? There he is. Asked her.
Please join me in a word of prayer. Gracious Lord God, we're thankful for this community, for its citizens. We're thankful for those whose calling it is to serve as leaders in this community. Be with each one here this night as matters of this community are discussed and decisions are made. Guide us in all that we say and do. Amen.
Thank you, sir. Please be seated. Okay, did everybody get a chance to go over the minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second it.
First and second, is there any discussion? Go ahead and vote.
Teagues?
Aye.
Peterson?
Aye.
Tell?
Aye.
Jones?
Aye.
Mayor Dimmers?
Aye. Minutes are approved as written. Do we have anything to add to the agenda?
We have nothing.
Oh, awesome.
Move approval of the agenda.
Second that.
First and second, any discussion? Go ahead and vote.
Tell?
Aye.
Jones?
Aye.
Teagues? Peterson?
Aye.
Mayor Dimmers?
Aye. Agenda is approved as written. Does anybody have any conflicts of interest this evening? Hearing none, we'll move on. Does anybody from the public want to address anything that's not on the agenda this evening? Okay. We have a public hearing at 6:45, so we're going to skip ahead here a little bit. Looks like the rate utility study will be at 7. So, department head report from Shane.
I'll be absent at the next meeting. I just put my report in early. I don't know if you had any questions on that, or any questions or complaints over the weekend with the lovely foot of snow.
All of our equipment held up.
For the most part, yep.
So far.
Very good.
What is your guideline as far as when you send out the message with,
We weren't sure because they were the timing and how deep the snow was going to be and everything with this last round. So we didn't really know until probably about 4 or 5 in the morning. But I mean, everyone knew it was coming, but
but did everyone know you were going back out this morning?
yeah, we didn't really announce that because it was just a cleanup. We were just trying to get the chunks. A lot of
So
times
people
when-
didn't get ticketed if they were there?
No, they didn't issue any tickets because the notices didn't get put out.
Okay.
But generally, I like to put the notice out by 6 p.m. if we're going to ticket the night before, which in most cases we can, but in this case, it was just hard with timing and the weekend, and we didn't really want to go out unless it snowed enough to do anything with it. Of course, we got double what they anticipated, but so we just went with it. But I mean, there's quite a few cars on the road, but I guess the biggest thing is people knows it's going to snow, just use off-street parking. It helps us out greatly. We had to wait on a bunch of cars getting pulled out, and that just takes extra time. Then you have to go back and clean up, and it's usually a mess to pick up. Otherwise, it freezes and people run into the hard pack and stuff that's left over there. So, just a rule of thumb: if there's more than generally, if we get over 2-3 inches on a weekend, we're going to be going. So during the week, usually less than that, just to keep it from packing down, but, in this case, with the foot of snow,
Doesn't the city ordinance say that if it's gonna be greater than 2 inches?
there really
that
isn't
they-
so much inches. It's parking which obstructs snow removal is prohibited.
I thought there was inches because otherwise it's too,
Vague.
Yeah.
There might be. It's been a while since I looked at that ordinance. I mean, I could look at it, but, so Jason knows more on that part of it, more on the law enforcement side of it, but we just tell him when we're going, he takes care of that end of it.
but are you saying if you don't put out the notice, then people aren't gonna get ticketed?
That's generally the policy.
I'm just trying to,
If we don't put the notice out, they don't ticket.
I think we have something on Carousel that says if it's an inch or two, that it's just a standard.
I was gonna say, I thought it was, that
I think they
there's
can
been this
ticket.
much snow, you will be ticketed. We added in the option of people getting a text message, so that they would be reminded to move or whatever, but I
Mhm.
thought that was as more of a
It's a courtesy.
courtesy,
I mean,
but
if you look
that
at
people
the-
can still be ticketed. 'Cause
Yeah.
I just don't want your guys having to plow around cars because you didn't send out a,
Mhm.
I don't wanna say a warning, but
Yeah.
a notice.
I mean, that's kind of been their practice, is if we don't put the notice out, they don't ticket them. But-
Then I think we need, cause
There's
we
a
need to be
standard notice
consistent.
out there
We
right
need to
now.
be consistent, because otherwise,
think we're
we'll
covered.
have another community member coming in here that got ticketed, but Joe Blow down the street didn't get a ticket. I just wanna make sure we're consistent, so it's easy if people approach me, or if they come to the council and approach us as a group.
If they
that
ticket one,
it's-
they're gonna ticket all of them that are on the road. I do know that.
Okay.
Um,
And my car was parked there for the last 4 snow removals, and I didn't get a ticket. Why did I get a ticket this time?
well, you have a park.
No, I'm saying I'm a citizen saying that.
Yeah. But, and same with dumpsters, I mean, we've actually ticketed dumpsters that are been on the road too. People doing whatever, cleaning, their dumpster sits on the road for a week. It's there when they move snow.
I guess what I'm saying, I'd like you and Jason to communicate a little bit better, or consistent or whatever, so it's just consistent across the board, so the citizens know this is the rule, this is what you're gonna be held accountable for.
I mean, if that's what they wanna
No
do,
surprises.
I don't think,
But there is a standard thing on the Carousel that covers it.
yeah, and the water bill.
So it's covered no matter what. Whether they get something out or not, it's on Carousel
Yeah.
all the time in the winter.
I know, but if we offer the thing, I think we need to use it or not. If people are, because right now, what I'm saying is there isn't a consistent thing. It's on the carousel, but we're not enforcing it consistently.
Right now, so if I know we're going out, generally it's 2 o'clock in the morning, or if it isn't more, it's just a dusting, we'll start like at 4, but most of the time it's either 2 or 4 in the morning. If we know we're going out the night before, Jason gets it out there, he lets his officers know, and they take care of the ticketing. But in cases where we don't really know what it's gonna do, like 10:30 Saturday night, it wasn't snowing yet. So we didn't really want to say we were going to plow and there not be anything there.
Okay.
Because they've been off both ways on this case. It's double what they predicted, but well, that's kind of where you put the line as far as call it, unless you call it and then we just don't call it.
I just think we need to be consistent, and I agree with the courtesy thing. I think we're a small enough community that we should be able to just put out a notice saying, we're gonna be cleaning up the streets. If you could have your vehicles off the street, please have them off the street. Because I'd rather pull in my driveway than have you guys go around my vehicle, because I didn't know you were gonna be out there. No, I had my vehicles off the street. But I'm just saying, we've got the tools out there. I think maybe we need to look at that we're using them consistently.
Yeah, we can do that. It just, if we call it and we don't plow, I mean, people just didn't park in the road that night too, so.
Yeah, no harm, no foul that way.
But then the notification doesn't go to everybody either, because everybody doesn't use it.
It's,
You're
It's
in a
winter time.
catch-22.
Yeah.
I mean,
And the basic rule is that if there's gonna be more, potentially more than 2 inches of snow, you're supposed to be off the street.
I know, but it's not being enforced is what
Right.
I'm saying.
Well, it should be. I mean, we
kinda
live
wait.
in Minnesota. This isn't the first time it's snowed. People gotta know. I mean, this has been going on for years.
So we can just put that out, that anytime that's proposed there's 2 inches of snow or more, it's like you're gonna get a ticket if you're on the street.
Then I think that we need to reinforce it and we need to be consistent. I mean, everybody has the option to sign up for it. No, they don't have to sign
Right.
up for it.
Mhm.
But when you have the option out there and you sign up for it, I don't want people coming and saying the notice didn't go out. If we're saying don't count on the notice, we're going with 2 inches or more and people will be ticketed, then I think that's what we need to do.
And we
If we're
can-
not gonna enforce an ordinance, why do we have one?
We can just use the forecasted amounts too. Go by those too.
And then people take their risk. If they don't believe the weatherman, it's not gonna snow this time, I'm gonna leave my car on the street, they're gonna take the risk. But I think we need to give guidance to the police department then that they are to enforce it. Because there's nothing worse than having an ordinance and it's enforced sometimes and not the others. It just sends the wrong message, because all of a sudden, when you're the one that gets that ticket, and you know other people haven't on other snow occasions, it just runs into trouble. I'd rather just say, that's the ordinance, you know that's the ordinance, err on the side of caution and get off the street then.
We can do that.
And maybe we just need to communicate with Jason that his officers have that they need to enforce it.
I would agree with Jerry. There needs to be a consistent enforcement and established standard.
I'll talk to Jason. Get it figured out.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else?
We do the new liquor store update in like 3 minutes.
Sure. We had our meeting this evening, and the plan is, I don't know how detailed you want me to get into as far as like by mid-March, end of March or whatever, but by the end of May, that we're planning on the interior being done. And then the outside work will depend on when the frost comes out and everything with the parking lot and that. But we're hoping to get that work done then in June, if the frost comes out.
Hopefully earlier, but-
Yeah, if the frost comes out earlier, we'll be able to move that time frame up, but we're erring on the side of weather being like last year in April, having a snowstorm. I don't know. Shouldn't jinx myself. But we're thinking by June that we should be able to have, hopefully get moved in June.
Okay.
Are we on budget or over budget or?
Right
We're
now,
sitting pretty decent right now. So there's a few things, there's a little more decay in the building than we initially anticipated, but we've got through that. It's more of a, took more time than anything. But as far as material wise, I think it's gonna be about the same, so. A few more 2x4s and 2x6s, but other than that.
So you're gonna target June for a grand opening?
we're shooting for
We're shooting
July.
for opening in June and July, like hopefully like the first week in July is the grand opening. Maybe we'll open first and then do the grand opening, so that's our targeted time frame.
It's not gonna flood this year either.
I love your optimism at 6:45.
Yep, that's right there. Okay, at this time, we will open the public hearing for the Phase 3A 2 infrastructure improvement project. Assessment roll right now.
Clicker, Shane. Controller.
Yes. Which one do you want?
The PowerPoint, I suppose.
So it's this one here?
Yeah.
Phase 3.
Okay, so the Phase 3A2 infrastructure improvements. You know which buttons go ahead?
You just push the... Is it on?
No.
I'll help you out.
Thanks. So just a little background. I'll probably skip through a lot of this stuff in the interest of saving time, but so the city, as you can see, there used to be several wastewater issues. There were leaking wastewater ponds, undersized ponds. There were sanitary sewer bypass structures, trunk sanitary sewers that were aligned through private property, significant inflow and infiltration, structural deficiencies in pipes, shared and rogue services, and missing sanitary mains. Those first 4 bolded up top were solved with the Phase 1 and 2 infrastructure improvements. However, the other 4 issues are kind of spread throughout town, and that's what this Phase 3A addresses. So in addition to the wastewater issues, there was also several issues with the water system, such as undersized mains, frequent breaks, dead-end mains. The system as a whole is kind of undervalved. Again, shared and rogue services and missing mains. In addition, several stormwater issues such as undersized mains, failing intakes and pipes, missing catch basins, and minimal stormwater retention. And throughout town you'll find failing pavement, poor drainage, non-compliance with ADA, and lack of subsurface drainage on streets. You can go to the next one. So in Phase 1, as I mentioned earlier, it addressed a lot of the sanitary issues, such as removing the sanitary bypasses and increasing the outfall capacity. There's also some incidental I&I reduction, and we provided sump pump service stubs to all homes to help remove those sump pumps and footing tiles off the sanitary system. You can go to the next one. Phase 1, as you might remember, was completed back in 2018. It was from the airport basically to Central Park. Then last September, I believe, phase 2 was completed. The new ponds went online, so that solved all the old issues with the leaking ponds and undersized ponds by providing new ponds of adequate size. As I mentioned before, there's still several issues remaining in the system, pretty much all throughout town. So, as you can see here, we did an assessment of the system a couple years back, viewed all the sanitary televising, and this map here just shows the structural condition of all the pipes. You can see what this project kind of basically goes from 4th Street to 8th Street between Highway 14 and Morgan Street. And you can notice, you maybe can't read it on here, but there's a lot of red pipes in there. Those are pipes that are structurally in poor condition. Similarly, maintenance, sanitary maintenance needs, this would be things like pipe sags or roots in pipe, root intrusions, things that the city's got to spend a lot more time on from a maintenance perspective. This phase 3A2 area was very poor in that regard as well. Water mains, this map basically shows areas where their cities experienced a lot of main breaks over the years. You'll notice right away that 5th Street is about the worst spot in town, which falls in this project area. This map here shows undersized water mains. That's anything under 6 inches, which is the minimum required now. And that's just so that there's adequate pressure at hydrants if they're ever needed for fire suppression or anything like that. Again, notice 6th Street, Emery Street, looks like there are a couple areas that are undersized on this project. That map you can't see, but it was just the previous 2 put together. One thing we looked at is sanitary lining. I won't really go into this right now. There is phases in the future where we're planning to do some sanitary lining as opposed to replacement. There isn't any of that in this phase though. So for phase 3A, the improvements are primarily governed by sanitary system needs. As I mentioned, we looked at lining where feasible. But in addition to that, storm sewer, water, and street improvements within the same corridor were replaced if we were going to be there. We also proposed some new sanitary and water mains where there aren't any right now, basically these missing mains. These are areas where, because there's no main in the street, a combined service has been run. There's 3 or 4 instances of that on this project. So there will be new mains provided in those areas so that each property has adequate service and can have their own service line. The entire street section will be replaced to standard widths, and under drain with sump drain services will be added as well so that homeowners can tie their sump pumps, if necessary, into that. So this is kind of the entire phase 3 project area. As I mentioned, our project area is basically the orange, purple, and part of the brown area up there. So as you saw on that last map, the overall phase 3 project is pretty large, but it was broken into several smaller projects, phase 3A2 being one of them. 3A1 started construction last fall, which was the first project in this phase 3A. Here is a map of the Phase 3A2 project area. Like I said, 4th to 8th between Highway 14 and Morgan Street. So, plans and specs are required to be approved by USDA Rural Development prior to bidding. The plans were submitted back in September of 2019. However, RD is currently backlogged due to staffing issues. As a result, they have not had a chance to review them yet, but assuming they get to that, we hope to bid the project yet this spring. And construction could commence as early as May with a targeted substantial completion of November 2021 and a final completion of the following summer. The assessment hearing would be held around October 2021, and the final assessment roll would be adopted and certified to the county by November 30th of 2021. The first assessment installment would be payable in the first half of 2022. So the estimated project cost is about $9.5 million. You can kind of see a breakdown of the different areas where that money is. But that's just an estimated cost. The actual cost will be based on bid prices and actual construction quantities. And this estimated cost also includes contingencies for unforeseen circumstances and soft costs such as legal, surveying, and engineering, and contract administration and financing. So, as you mentioned, the project is funded by USDA Rural Development. Loans and grants from them will be the funding source for the sanitary sewer, water main, and storm sewer items, and other eligible items incidental to the utilities. Ineligible items such as street replacement outside of the utility trench will be funded through bonds. Loans and bonds will be paid through a combination of utility rates, property taxes, and special assessments. So the assessments were calculated per the city policy with a couple exceptions. For one, grants were applied to lower the project cost prior to calculating the assessment, whereas the policy states that the grants should be used to lower the city's share of the project costs. Also, assessments were capped at $7,500 per property, and sanitary and water were assessed per property and not per lineal foot. So just a little overview. The costs were, for oversized pipes, were adjusted to minimum pipe sizes. So all water mains were treated as 6-inch water main, and all sanitary sewers were treated as 8-inch sanitary sewers, even though most sanitary sewers on the project are larger than 8-inch. Similarly, storm sewer was reduced to 24-inch in the estimate, even though some storm sewers are larger than that. If it was a smaller storm sewer, it stayed that smaller size. The total amount assessed was based on 30% of the sanitary, water, storm, and street improvements. However, because of the assessment caps, the actual amount assessed is less than 30%. So the total assessed is about $1.1 million. Streets are assessed based on lot footage. For side yards, that footage is calculated by taking 1/3 of the total up to 120 feet, and then beyond 120 feet, it's per foot. So if there was a 150-foot side lot, it would be 70 feet, 40 of the first 120, and then the 30 after that. Construction expectations. So the project will be an inconvenience to the property owners. The city, ISG, and the contractor will do what's feasible to limit the impact. Vehicular access will be unavailable at some times. It shouldn't be too bad because there's alleys on most blocks and a good street grid, so they'll never be too far to go to reach a property, but there's still maybe some inconvenience. And residents should not expect to be able to pull into their driveway every night. Provisions for temporary roads and temporary sidewalks will be made when feasible. And once the project gets going, we'll be sending out project updates about once a week. And that's preferably by email. Everyone who signs up should be added to that email list. We've also got information later how you can contact us to do that. But we prefer that way, but just because we're able to get the information out much more quickly. And a lot of times, you know, if you wait to do it by mail, the whole subject of the update may have passed already by the time you even receive it. Property owners should expect the entire right-of-way will be disturbed. It won't necessarily all be disturbed, but expect that it will be. So landscaping within the right-of-way, like I said, will be removed and replaced as necessary. Property owners that are particular about their landscaping might want to remove it themselves, just to ensure that everything gets put back the way they'd like it. Found property markers will be protected or replaced. So in our topo, our surveyors found as many property markers as they could. They didn't necessarily find all of them though. At some point this spring, they'll go out and mark all the ones that they did find. And if you guys know of any of your own, I guess, that were not located, if you can uncover those and let us know, we'll get those shot in as well. The reason being, if we know something's there, we can ask the contractor to protect it. If we don't know it's there, it's kind of hard to do that. And any that they're supposed to protect, they either have to protect or replace at their own cost. So it would be in your best interest to notify of those if you know of them. In addition, in the project planning, we did televising of sanitary services. We did this to confirm their locations, identify shared services, and identify compliance issues. However, there were many properties where we were unable to complete the televising, either because the main was in poor enough shape that they couldn't get a lateral launch camera up there, or there were issues scheduling with property owners or access issues in the houses. So there are several services that will still be televising during construction as we come across them. And based on that information, notices will be issued by the city for non-compliance based on either if the service is in poor condition or if there's a footing tile or something. An issue like that needs to be rectified. Project newsletters, talked about that before. If you do need to get on the list, you can contact Tracy in our office and she'll get you on there. Phase 3A2 open house has not been scheduled yet, but will probably be coming up here pretty quickly, I would guess, in the next month or two for sure. And that will be held here. Any questions?
You were talking about the linings, you might put them off or put them do, or is that something that they can do when the street's tore off? You mentioned something.
So the lining that we would do is of the sanitary mains, which the areas we're looking at for that are mainly along like Highway 14 and kind of in the Broad Acres area. Service lining could be a solution for a non-compliant service, but that would be the homeowner's responsibility to line that up.
Yeah, I just know what service lines were or whatever.
Yeah, it's basically they put a new pipe through the old one. Yeah.
And now you're talking about street widths. You're not narrowing the streets from what they are now, are they? Are you?
They're changing a little bit. Some are getting a little narrower, some are getting a little bit wider.
Because you were talking about narrowing some streets in town proposed before.
Have you come up to the,
What?
he's got the microphone.
Yeah, the public can't see him.
I don't think it's turned on.
No, it's for the
actually to
TV.
folks out.
Oh, okay, whatever. Anyway, I was just wondering, there's something in the paper in the past about you guys were gonna narrow some streets. And I just think, why would you narrow them from what they already are now? Because when you get like snow issues and like we've had in the past few years here, I don't understand why the city's gonna make streets narrower. I mean, if it's a mandated thing, but I mean, I don't understand why the city's making some streets narrower and putting jut outs and stuff like that. And because I know some towns up where I grew up, they put those jut outs and they're just a menace for the snow removal crews. And anyway, that's whatever.
Do you want to explain like what streets, or I'm just trying to get an answer for your question, Richard, as far as the streets, or is that something that will go into more at the open house, or that people can find out what, if there's streets?
Yeah, I mean, at the open house, we can certainly answer any direct question like that.
The whole idea behind it is to standardize the street widths. Because as it sits, some are very wide and then they come right down to, much narrower. And the idea behind it is to standardize street widths.
A lot of them are 30 feet, so they're getting a little wider. And
Yes.
there are a couple that are really wide that we're bringing to something reasonable, because it's just way more snow removal and maintenance than is necessary on the city side.
But you're not changing streets like where people can park on both sides of the street. You're not changing them down to where it's gonna be one side parking and things.
No, there should be room to park on both sides on every street.
And they're going to be a little bit wider around churches and school and that kind of thing. It's just to save the effort of clearing the streets with, like you said, snow issues and so forth, and it's standardizing street widths. I know if you come down 4th Street right now, if you can't see the center line, I mean, it juts over 3-4 feet when it narrows. So you could possibly, if you're not from around here, be driving right into oncoming traffic. So that's one of the things that, we're going to standardize that, so it's, because that's kind of a hazard. I mean, we all know about it, we live here, but it's somebody that doesn't, and they don't see that change in width and that line move. So that's the motivation behind it.
Okay. Anything else?
The assessments for the properties, will that be at the open house then?
He's got him right here.
Probably why most of you are here.
I got a question.
Okay.
We live in an old house.
We need people to come up to the.
You wanna bring the mic over here, Andy?
Yeah.
Come up
Just
here.
hand it to them if you want.
State your name and-
No, because the public can't see
Okay.
if you're just handing the microphone.
Yeah. So please come on up to the mic and ask your question.
I'm Art Peterson. I live on Roland Street. And we live in an old house. And the alley keeps raising up, raising up, raising up. Every time that something happens, I bring more gravel there and raise it up. What I was wondering is, Can they dip the sidewalk down, shorten the approach, and lower the alley? And there's more than just me that has that problem. Last time it thawed, when the ice in the alley built up, was within 4 feet of running in a door in the house.
Question for the engineers, I think, if that
Yeah.
was looked at when,
Yeah,
on the street
something
grades.
specific like that, we can go over at the open house. It'll be a good time, I guess. I don't even know which property you're talking about, so we can go over it then.
But that's something,
So far, we haven't got an answer on anything that comes in the open house.
Are there any other questions? Thank you for your questions, sir. If there's no other questions, we need to address a resolution, yeah?
close the public
We'll
portion.
close it, and then we'll close the public portion of the hearing, and at this time.
I'd make a motion then to approve resolution 2020-7, ordering the improvements. Project 382.
Second. First and second, is there any questions or discussion? Go ahead and vote.
Teigs.
Aye.
Towle.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Mayor Dimmers.
Aye. Resolution 2020-7, ordering improvements passes. It's approved. Okay, at this time, we'll move on to the utility rate study. We're a little bit late, we apologize, but
Not to interrupt. We're going to need to do that 2020-8 also, right, okay? That's actually,
That's the second part of that.
that's the
That's the
second
second
part.
part of
That's
it?
actually saying what streets and stuff it is. So I'd make a motion to approve 2020-8, receiving the feasibility report.
Second.
first and second, any questions or discussion? Go ahead and vote.
Jones.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Towle.
Aye.
Teigs.
Aye.
Mayor Dimmers.
Aye. Resolution 2020-8, receiving feasibility report, is approved. Okay, now we'll do the utility rate study.
Yep.
Hey, Chris, do you have any more of those assessment control sheets?
Yeah.
A whole bunch of them.
Yeah, I'd like one.
Anyone else want one? Big one?
Is that enough?
Might as well have it handy. Because I know there's going to be a question somewhere along the line.
I'll take one.
They don't get that water. They isn't, that's on
I need one, a couple more.
I think everybody
One more.
I got an email.
Yeah, it is. I already know what I'm getting at. The max.
Good evening.
Oh, cool, more books.
Light reading.
so it would start.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Let's see what they did here. They know us. So They gave us the enlarged copy.
We should have did this before we spent that $10 million.
Enough of that. I know you're a very generous person, but you don't need to share that part.
Sure, if you don't need
They're all different addresses on the far left. Yeah, the property address. I see it now.
I think Diane, you'll advance for us as well.
Yeah, we can advance, right? Or, here's the clicker otherwise.
Somebody plug it in. Make sure it works.
This one.
Probably need to point it at the computer.
Actually, maybe.
Yeah, there it is.
There it is.
Good evening. Alright, so tonight we're going to talk about the rate study.
Gentlemen,
Andy,
excuse me, can you guys,
thank you.
thanks.
I'm going to do some highlights of the projects that I did for the city of Tracy. Not only the rate study, but also the long-term plan, and we did a debt management analysis. And first, I'll introduce myself. I'm Erin. I've been working at the firm a little less than a year, but I have a lot of government experience, county, local government, from audit prep, single audit preparation, internal audit, and various projects such as these ones. And I'll let Vicki introduce herself.
Sure, and I'm Vicki Holthouse. I'm a partner with AEM Financial Solutions. We're not your audit team. I know you're familiar with working with Tom and Aaron, I believe, and Chad. We work for our financial solutions team, so we specialize in utility rate analysis, long-term plans, debt management analysis, all of these types of projects. So we're happy to be here with you guys tonight.
So first booklet is the debt management analysis. And a few things that we had for this was that there was a lot of opportunity to redeem some bonds early so that the city could save on interest payments for these bonds. There were 4 different ones that I identified, which is in the booklet. I know you don't have time to look at it now, but if you do have questions, Tom, Vicki, or I, you can send those to Shane or Peggy, and we can get those answered. And another thing is that we saw opportunity to reduce some of the property tax levies towards the end of the debt service for a few of the bonds. So this will, because there was a higher cash balance in there and it met the 105% threshold, so this will relieve some of the property tax. And also there was opportunity to set up a debt reserve pool. So this is helpful for paying other debt obligations, and it also helps maintain a positive cash flow in the other debt service funds. And a highlight for this debt management analysis that we did, that all the cash balances of the funds remain positive over the lifetime of this plan. And by 2031, all the current governmental debt obligations is projected to be paid off. Do you have any questions on this one?
Those bonds that you said that we could do off early, are they annotated in here so we can look them up, or?
Yes, so that would be the 2014A General Obligation Improvement Bond.
Okay.
That could be redeemed in 2028. There's the 2009A General Obligation Improvement Bonds also. That could be redeemed in 2023. And when that is done, there's opportunity for other projects or other bonding that the city can do. And the other two is the 2015A and the 2016D. The 2015 is the refunding bond, and the 2016D will be the last call option that we have, which will pay off all the current outstanding debt obligations that the city has.
These headings out, because that's where they can see it.
Oh, yes. That will be on page 5. And the bullet point for each fund analysis, it will tell you whether the city should consider calling it or there's no call option and we have to wait for the bond to mature. Next, we can move on to the long-term plan. So this is the project that I worked with from receiving the capital improvement plan from the city, and we worked this into this long-term plan. And a high note is that the city cash position is projected to increase to 5.9 million. From 5.9 million to 10.4 over the duration of this plan. But along with the increase of the cash, the tax levy is projected to increase to 1.5 from the 1.2. But this is necessary to fund all the capital projects that we receive from the city. But this has minimal increase to the minimum home value, which is projected to be only at $791 at the end of the plan for the median home value. And those assumptions can be found on
page 7, 6, and 7?
Yes. But with the cash increase in the debt position is improving as shown in the debt management analysis with the early call option of the bonds and different things. And in this plan, we also established some direct levies to some of the capital funds, such as police, fire, and the equipment replacement fund, instead of doing transfers from the general fund. Typically, that's the way it's done. So with that, we have to increase the property tax levy to pay for these capital projects that are in there, but by setting a direct levy, it'll take away all the peaks and valleys that goes up and down with the property tax levy if we put it directly to the fund. So then the general fund levy could be consistent. And we set that at a 3% in this plan.
That would stabilize our levy?
Yes. And also, I established a levy for the airport to pay off for some of the CIP items that were listed. And there are a few things that I noted in here. So with the liquor fund operation, the margins are currently slim. So this is something that the city should watch, because once the municipal liquor stores operate at a deficit for 2 years of public hearing is suggested, or actually need to do it. And so
We're well versed in that.
Okay. So that is projected to be at a deficit with some of the CIP items that we have. But my suggestion was to restructure some of those items in different years so that the liquor store could continue to operate at a positive cash flow, even though it's slim, but it's just not deficit. And another one was the refuse collection rate. It's projected to be at a deficit by the end of this plan. So I think perhaps these rates should be based on the cost of delivering the service. So the operations should look into doing a review of the current rates, such as like what we deal with the sewer rates and the water rates. I would suggest that this should be done for this. Currently, the operations is being funded and supplemented through transfers. Those are the highlights for that one. Do you have any questions?
Not yet.
Okay. Last is the water and sewer rate study that we did. So during our study, we found that currently the sewer rates are self-sustainable, but there are some CIP items in there that are factored in, and also the USDA, the new loans, the 2019A, 2019B are factored in the sewer analysis. So we suggested a 3% rate increase. The proposed rates will allow the city to maintain the revenue for the structure.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said. Can you repeat that last sentence?
Oh, the USDA loan repayments are factored in the sewer fund. The new ones that are just issued for 2019.
Thank you. Your next one would be, I think we're good through phase 3A, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And after that, we'd have another bond to do the next phase of the project.
So we've got a little bit of time.
About 4 years or so, give or take.
Okay.
On the water side, and I don't mean to jump in, but we've kicked it up a little bit trying to catch up. Did that help at all, or is that getting us closer, or that's the one I'm concerned with, because it's getting expensive.
So the water, we restructured the, I'll skip there.
Jumped ahead.
Yeah. So we restructured the rates to align better with the MNDNR water conservation. And when we compared these to other cities, the water rate was, I believe, still in comparison with other cities, with the rate increases that we proposed. So if you look at page 15, it's the summary recommendations page. We did Tracy current and proposed, and then I have a couple other cities that were picked as comparison cities. So Mountain Lake and Springfield, as you can see that the new water rates are still comparable to surrounding communities. And so the tier 1 is set at the corresponding average of the city's use, the customers for the city, and the additional tiers are to encourage more water efficiency. And I think that the new proposed structure, it aligns better with the proportionate cost to serve the customers based on the consumption.
Shane, maybe you can jog my memory, but isn't this the proposed numbers here? Is this what we put in the fee schedule for this year? Or we just talked about it and didn't get that rate changed?
The base fee? Or are you talking?
if you look at page 15 there, that the proposed, isn't that what we put in the usage stuff? In the last,
I thought we just talked about it.
I thought it was 20.
That to
I
be
thought it was
used.
25.
Huh? Didn't we just approve that to be used to do the math? I don't think we actually put the,
because the reason I've asked is we should have raised the rates with that fee schedule this year.
I'm gonna look at it.
Yeah, I don't know if we did or not, that's fine. We haven't done a very good job of raising them every year.
no, I don't. Oh,
But I know we
did.
kicked them up earlier this fall, but I don't remember what the effective date was supposed to be on it. But your proposed, that will
So
get
currently,
us the cash flow?
yes,
Okay.
it'll meet the target reserve that is needed. So that is the 50% of the debt service,
Yep.
and then it's the current year expenses, 6 months of working capital, and 50% of the debt service.
And this represents a 3% increase, is that correct?
Do you remember the percentages on that one?
For water, there are different increases.
Yeah, it's gonna vary.
Well, with the tiers.
And usage.
Sewer is 3.
Yeah.
Sewer's a 3%. Okay.
That would be a 3% year on top of year. Or if we go to these rates, we should be covered.
So it's year over year.
Year over year. And then the thing on the water that fluctuates so much is your chemical costs. There's just, they've been going up ridiculously.
I don't know if you want me to come up to the, but to the mayor's.
Yes, please.
Yes. I was just going to say, to the mayor's point too, what we find with utility rate studies is when cities are doing those incremental adjustments to keep up with cost of living each year, you find that you don't have to do quite as much of this, play the catch-up game, do a big spike and then kind of plateau. If you just do those incremental adjustments, just because infrastructure costs continue to raise, chemicals working.
All your
Mhm.
operating
Yep.
expenses.
That makes sense. Just slow and steady increase the payment instead of breaking a finger every 3 years.
There's only one base rate, right?
The base,
Yeah, the base rates. The
There's only one
proposed
base
is
rate. So it says sewer base rate, that's what I don't remember there being two. I know the sewer base service charge was $21 per meter.
I thought the proposed one, I thought we did.
I thought we did too, but I don't remember seeing
Looking
it.
back
I don't see it highlighted in the,
on this one
Yeah.
that we had earlier, where they have Tracy current.
Yep.
I think that's what we changed it from, was from that to the proposed, the flat.
I think that's what, yeah, and that's when I thought, but I don't remember, and I bring it up tonight because we're talking about it and the numbers will help. I don't recall ever doing a resolution to raise it to that or to get it in the fee schedule, but I know we discussed it specifically for this purpose, but it was said it was at the time we should raise it.
if I remember right, we discussed it to do the math on it.
Right, that's what the
And we-
specific discussion was.
Right,
And it
for
was
this.
suggested to go ahead and do it, and be, you know, and go
But I
from
don't
there.
think we ever actually
We never
did it.
acted on it,
Right.
so.
According to the resolution, there's just a sewer base fee of $21 per meter.
If you send over the current fee schedule, we can look over it and review it.
We need all the help we can get.
When would that have been? I'm just looking back. When would we approve the fee schedule?
First meeting of the year. It was a resolution 2020-2.
Got it.
I'm sorry I interrupted. I just want to make sure we don't forget to raise it again.
So we're twice as far behind.
No, I think if we go, if we can get from this to that in the next month, we'll be good. Till next year, then have to bump everything another 3%, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And I've been trying to get that done now for 11 years.
I know.
So, and then the water, is that gonna stick with the same 3% increase each year? Or that's more flexible, is it not, or more?
I didn't put percentages in here, but we can send those over.
Okay.
But with the restructure, I believe some years it was 3%, some was a little higher, not much higher, maybe 5, just to meet the targets, but
Well,
I
because
can
you have
give
the
you a for sure
variables
answer.
of the infrastructure costs and the chemical costs,
Right.
and, you know, I understand that part, but I'm looking for, you know, kind of a ballpark, like you said, 3 to 5%, or, you know, an estimation.
3% is a good estimate.
Okay. Do we get you all off track on your?
Nope, I'll
on your
shut
flow?
up
I
now.
know. We answered some of the things I was going to talk about, which is good, so.
I sent the fee schedule to you. So you should
Okay,
have it.
thank you.
Don't be afraid to tell us to shut up, you're gonna cover that.
I was just going to say, with the restructure of the rates, it cuts down on the complexity of tracking it in the Banyan utility billing system. And with the new fees and stuff, we have offered assistance to, well, Vicky has offered assistance into helping or walking Peggy through that if she needs help. Because sometimes we have all these different base fees, something could be missed. So we want to make sure that we have the one, and with the usage fee, you could put all of those in one, what is it called?
Service.
One
Yeah.
service
Yeah.
versus having many different services.
Just kind of a side observation that we made in looking at how the utility billing is set up and the rate structure is set up. We think this could provide a lot of simplicity going forward. So as you make updates, it won't be so cumbersome for staff to update the system. So we're happy to work with Peggy on that. So
Awesome.
We have not, we did
have
not
not.
go to the proposed. It's still in the fee schedule as the old way.
Yep.
And with the increases, the city does remain within the comparable cities, not overly high or overly low. You can see in the different pages. Do you have any more questions?
As long as we're talking water and sewer. Our sewer rate is based off of a couple samplings of the water rate, and that's the way that you figured it. So going forward, like right now, you're saying the sewer is cash flowing, but going forward, you still want to bump that 3% too, or just, my question is, to make it simple, Just the 3% or just take it off as a portion of the water used?
Currently, you use the 4-month, a 4-month
Average, yeah.
average, correct?
Yep.
I would opt towards the 3%.
Okay. I like that. That's simpler.
Yeah.
The way the averaging setup is very common.
Yeah.
So for us to hit our target, that's what this proposed is. When is that, I mean, taking effect? Is that an immediate?
That's up, we have to decide to do that. We should do it right away.
Right, and I agree, but that's what I'm asking is, it's calculated to make our targets right now, but is that based on starting this month or starting in October? I mean, you know, when was that calculation done for it, like an immediate implementation?
So if the council is amenable to the adjustments that we presented tonight, we'd suggest that at the earliest opportunity, you go ahead and implement those into your fee schedule. Since it is at the start of the year, it's a nice time to do that if you didn't take action on it at the last meeting. We'd be happy to take a look at the draft fee schedule and see if we need to recommend any edits and flip that back to staff. But if council can go ahead and put those in play, then really you're taking action again, you know, every January for the next few years and just doing those incremental adjustments over time. So.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else? And we're all digesting all this.
Okay, if I'm reading this correctly, like with the water fund, when you say the 3%, down here on page 17, the second to the, or the third from the bottom where it says average monthly dollar increase, $1.07, is that? I'm just trying to figure out what, you know, when you say 3%, 5%, what does that mean?
Dollar-wise to people.
Yeah, because a 5% increase can sound like a lot, but maybe it's not. And I'd like, I mean, is it the $1.07?
So, yeah, that's based on a 3,000 gallon user, which is common for your city.
Yeah.
So we want to show that these increases, like you said, might sound high, but
yeah,
in hindsight, it's just $1.07
a month.
An extra $13 a year.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that's what I
Yep.
think is important for people, because when you start throwing out percentages, it can make, oh my God, they're going up 3% on this now, and we're already doing this. But when you hear $1.07 a month or $12.78 a year, it makes you breathe a little easier.
Yeah, they were like, that's 2 lattes at Starbucks.
2? Well, if you figure in the tip.
So even the sewer with the 5%, there it's 31 cents a month.
Yes.
So to me, if I heard my sewer is going up 31 cents a month, I'd say, I can handle that. If I hear 5%, I'm like, well, that's quite a percentage jump. So I think that's the figures we need to get out to the public, that yes, we need to adjust, but when you're looking at each household, yeah, it adds up, but it doesn't put a large sum on each individual household. Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure I was reading it correctly.
Both of them combined, it's an extra $15 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a few other things to, whenever you're done with her too on the water rates.
Well, no, I just was trying to encourage our citizens. Now, don't go backwards.
Freak out.
This is probably gonna be the worst, but, right now we're billing 2 months behind, and most of you might know that. At some point, it's gonna be a lot less work on the accounting side of things and the billing to catch it up. So it's only from the previous month instead of 2 months back. What are you guys' interests in that?
I'm all for just the 1 month billing then versus this 2 months behind. We need to look at how do we catch them up, because we'll know what it's gonna be. Do we let them pay it?
So,
you know,
I talked to Peggy about this, a little bit before she left, but I think the total penalties that we are making, I think, are like $4,000, I believe, a month for overall, for all the accounts. Waiving, so I thought if you waive the penalties for 3 months, let them catch up. I mean, if they're not paying anything, I think they should still have to pay penalties, because they're not trying to catch up.
Right.
But, you know, you bill them, you catch up the billing, but you let them, give them 3 months to catch up with it.
Well, that's what I mean. You gotta do something to take the sting out of it, because.
Yeah, you're gonna be out the penalties, but.
And it's gonna be beneficial to the resident to have that option to do it. And it's as much as it is for the city to just, the time saved in doing the billing, so.
Let me, I think she had sent that to me.
Why are we 2 months behind? Was there a reason
It was
for
all
that?
manual entry, and
I was gonna say, you
Used
had
to
to
get a
read
card.
it and
you had to read your own meter.
send it in, and
Yeah.
it was a lot more of a manual process for the citizens to get it in here, so
Yeah.
that then the billing.
Then it was all manually entered.
But then it's one of those too, if we can catch it up to just being a month behind, we can set a plan out that everybody knows what's gonna happen and squeeze it down. It's not like we're gonna do it next month. We can say, okay, like in September, October.
Do we have the software to put out something that says like, well, your water bill is $50, but if you pay $65 in 3 months, you'll be caught up? Do we have the software to do that for these guys so that the residents can see what?
Probably not.
Yeah, you can put notes on there, but people aren't gonna see those. I think you
And
have
if
to
they
set
pay,
them.
let's say tomorrow somebody gets up after watching this and says, well, I'm just gonna go ahead and pay this month and next month at the same rate. If they overpay, how big of a headache is that on the accounting side?
If you overpay, it'll just go on the account for the next month.
Okay, so if for instance, if somebody decided tomorrow morning to start putting $30 on their extra on their water bill every month, and we figure out when we're gonna do this implementation, some of them could be completely caught up and, you know, and they could budget accordingly. If we decide that we're gonna go to this 1 month behind billing and say we're gonna do it 3 months from now, if they have the option to throw in $30 a month, 40, whatever they want to, whatever they can, by the time we go to that, they'll already be caught up.
Which is why I think if we put a plan together and people know that on this date, we're catching back up to the 1
Yeah.
month,
And that's-
people can plan accordingly.
That's why I was asking if we had the software to spell that out for them. So
I think that would be the easiest way as far as on the accounting side, if I'm.
And I'm saying that it isn't, but it's something we probably have to call Banyan for.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's probably an add-in they'd have to look at.
Yeah.
But we don't want to
You
increase
can
our
put notes
costs.
on there, but I don't think it would catch their attention
We'd have
enough.
to take the snow note off too.
Yeah.
You can only
Yeah.
have one note, I think, at a time, if I remember right.
I mean,
So
I'm gonna
I
speak
think-
for all the people that have rental properties in this town, that it is a nightmare having.
Please come up.
Thank you.
You have to share the
I
mic
said,
now.
I'd like to speak on behalf of the people that have rentals in this town. It is a nightmare having your water bill 2 months behind. When you have somebody move out, you have no idea where they moved, and then you gotta try to find them to pay their water bill for 2 months behind. So I think it's awesome that we're gonna get caught up in this whole thing, and I'm sure everybody else that has rental properties in this town, because it is a definite nightmare having 2 months behind for water bills.
Well, I agree. I think it's a good idea to go to a 1-month thing, but we want to make it as painless as possible for the
Yeah,
resident.
I mean, definitely, I'm just saying, that's a great idea that, yeah.
I just think we need to figure out the plan and do it.
I think we should let the ladies finish
yep.
what they, their presentation.
Well, if you have no other questions for us, it was our pleasure to come and present the information to you tonight. And we're happy to look at the fee schedule and answer any follow-up questions that come, so.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we want to leave the fee as it is until we figure everything out with them and change everything at once? Or you still want to look at changing the base rate?
Well, depending on when they can get back with us, I think no later than the first meeting next month, we should change the base rate on to the proposed and get that done and get it going.
And the usage
When-
fee?
Whatever they're
Do
recommending.
their whole proposed
Through the proposed
Yeah.
plan.
28.
Ladies,
28.
when can you get that back to us?
I mean, if you guys want a resolution for the next meeting, just make a motion of what you want it to be, and I can present that at the next meeting. Unless you want to wait and do it at the first meeting in
Well, that
March.
was my no later than date. We shouldn't wait any longer than that, because after you pass a resolution, you still have a waiting period before it goes
Right.
into effect. So
Sure.
the sooner we do it, the better it would be.
If we go with the conservation rates too, that's going to be a resolution item too. So either way, we're going to have a resolution for.
Right.
It'd probably be easier to do it all at once.
You said you already flipped over the current template?
The
We thought we did, but we hadn't yet.
No, we haven't. So
We agreed to it, but we never did the resolution.
So you said you were gonna go over that, and we wanna do it all at once, so how soon do you think you could get
I
that?
forwarded both of you our current fee schedule that we adopted in January, but I think it just had a sewer base rate of $21 on there, so.
We'll make the edits on it and flip it back to you within a couple days here.
Okay. And is that a PDF or Word? Is that a working document? You have a PDF editor? Okay, otherwise I can see if I can find you like the Excel sheet or something too. But-
Either way, we'll work with it.
Okay, sounds good.
So then we could go ahead and
Yeah,
set that for the next meeting?
go ahead and draft the resolution based on what they give us, and we can act on it next meeting.
Yep.
Yeah, I won't be around, but
That's fine.
Diane said as long
We
as
got the boss.
she's got the number,
Yeah.
she's got the number, she'd be fine with it.
So is
Yeah,
that your
that's all I need
motion?
is the numbers.
Yes, that's my motion.
I'd second that.
You wanna recap that for me, so I can? What exactly is your motion, Tony?
The motion is to have them draft a resolution for the next meeting implementing the water rates that are listed on the proposed site in the water sewer study rate, to comply with DNR requirements.
Okay, so we got a first and a second. Any other questions or discussion on that? Go ahead and vote.
Towle.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Teags.
Aye.
Mayor Dimmers.
Aye. So the motion to establish a resolution for next meeting to adopt the proposed rates is approved, I guess that's, I couldn't remember the rest of it, but you know what I mean. So, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, we got that. Now, moving on, liquor store wage scale and job description.
Like, if Tam wants to jump into this at all, but in the past, we have discussion on the wage rate and the job description, being the on sale close, of just having it what the off sale is. So I believe that's in the packet.
Yep.
I don't know if you had a chance to look over the job description.
So are we gonna eliminate the bartender, waitress
Yep.
line from the whole thing?
So that's what it is currently. I just put that
Yeah.
for your reference. So
Yep.
you kind of know where. And as far as the wage rates on the proposed, those are kind of taking averages off of other municipals of similar size.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the proposed, where are they?
How do they compare with first-year wages for anyone else that's starting in the city?
In the city?
Yeah.
It's lower. Probably by, are you comparing full-time or, I don't know what the.
Part-time.
Are you talking about the sales associate is gonna be the new
Yeah.
name? Well, that's about the same as a library aide.
Okay, that's what, yeah, because they're all part-time
I mean,
positions,
looking at
that's what I
the-
was.
Looking at the.
Well, you're looking at the big picture, I'm looking at the one they gave me.
Oh, I've got that one up here too, but this has the different other jobs on it.
That was my only question, and you should have a job description that actually fits what they're being hired for, and, yeah.
I know it's been brought up several times, just figured we'd make it, put it to that.
How does it, just to be the devil's advocate and bean counter, how's it gonna affect the budget?
Tam, you want to hop up just for a second?
It'll probably affect it a little bit, but I'm not talking.
Well, is it something we can do because we've already done the budget? Is it something that we'd have
Yeah,
to
you can still
wait?
do it, but
We can
it's
still
just,
do
you
it?
gotta be aware of how it's affecting things.
How many part-timers are there right now?
3, possibly 5. But the possible 2 are like part-time, like very limited.
Fill in when you need type things? So you got 3 main people, okay?
You step up, Tam, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, there's 4. There's 4.
There's 4.
The other options too, I put a 1, 2, and 3 in there, just based on what other cities do. Right now, ours are going off 1,080 hours a year, or 1,080 hours to go to the next step. Most of them are going by an annual step. Doesn't really matter how many hours they work. So it can be done either way. And then the cost of living adjustment, if you want that adjust with the rest of them, or case by case basis, or if you want to approve the CP schedule like we do at the pool annually.
I think I'd want to see it just increase like the rest of the jobs.
Just make it a line item in the main.
Yep.
And that's perfectly fine, just.
Yeah, on an annual.
Do other positions have to work the 1,080 before they go up to this step?
That I would have to look into.
I mean, I just think we need, here again, I just want consistency.
Yeah, it's 1,080 a year, and, yeah.
So if it takes you 2 years to get to the 1,080, then you get your increase?
Yeah, or 3 years. If we work.
I say, does that mess you up? Let's say it takes, like this year, somebody would work 700 hours, so then halfway through next year, they should get an increase? You know what I'm saying?
It's harder to track.
And we're never gonna,
Who's
and
tracking
we're,
that?
Software.
Because it doesn't go by hire date, it goes by hours. So I would think,
Hours would be the best way of doing it.
yeah.
That's the way it's tracked on the
if that's the
system.
way,
don't
and if
change
that's
it.
the
As long
way
as
other
there's a way to
departments do
track
it
it.
too.
Yeah.
If not, Banyan has their ways of programming it.
Yeah, there's always ways to work around it.
So yeah, that question is.
But like Jerry said, I would just do it however it's consistent.
Yeah, are
Across the
other
board.
people-
If it's yearly for everybody, or if it's hourly for everybody.
Multi-purpose center work.
As far as getting their raise.
Is in the handbook.
That's gonna get you there close. And I read the whole job description too, and that looks good.
Yep.
We got it from another city and just modified it to fit us.
You know, the hardest thing, the one thing about that, like the librarian aide, they have nowhere near the responsibilities that a part-time associate at the liquor store has.
But I'd make the motion to approve it depending on if it's hours or
I just got it up here.
years.
I'd second it.
And then the job description too.
Like you said, some of them did the bump, but then they didn't do the cost of living, you know?
Yep, like I said, just to be consistent on it, figure out which way that is, by years or by the hours, and go with that, and off we go.
Only two parts of reference about me. 1040.
Yeah, there was something. That's for, yeah, community part-time, just to see. Yeah. Goes by hours.
Well, can't we, for the time's sake here?
That's what I said, just to
Let's
do it by
just
which
make
one it is,
the-
so it's consistent.
Got a motion already for it in a second.
Motion and seconded.
Consistent with the library pay scale?
Yep.
Is that what?
Yep.
Or is that?
I don't even think we need to.
Consistent with other part-time.
Yeah.
That'd be the only one that really, other in the multi-purpose center.
Who made the motion and who seconded it?
I motioned it.
Dave
I did.
and Tony?
Yep. Any further questions or discussion? Go ahead and vote.
Oh, boy. Gotta find my thing here.
Time to wake up already?
Okay, Teagues.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Tao?
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Mayor Dimmers.
Aye. So a motion to accept the job description and wage by hours, or consistent with other part-time positions, is approved. Board of Appeal and Equalization date, April 20, 2020.
That's our annual requirement. Hopefully we don't have to set a snow date for that, but. I believe it, is it at 6:30? What's during the meeting,
Let
right?
me look and see.
No,
20th is a
we don't do it with a meeting, because it goes from like 6 to 8 or 7.
7 o'clock. Yep.
For that, to set that date, or?
To set that date.
Yep.
'Cause that's not a council meeting night anyway, is it?
No.
So I'll
Yeah.
make a motion to set the April 20th, 2020 for the Board of Equalization.
I'll second that, and then under discussion, I will be in Missouri. If need be, I'll Skype in, but otherwise I'm gonna miss a meeting.
Do we have
They're all trained,
They're all trained.
so we're good.
the only,
We got you covered.
if you want to be Skyped in?
Well, I keep my perfect record going, I might have to do that.
All right, any other discussion or questions? Go ahead and vote.
Tao.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Teagues.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Mayor Dimmers.
Aye. So, date will be set April 20, 2020, at 7 p.m. LMC waiver form.
It's an annual thing. We're required council approval for our insurance renewal. In the past, we do not waive.
Yep.
Oh, I got it wrong once.
Once or twice.
I
But yeah,
make
we
a
do not
motion
waive.
to not waive the monetary limits on the liability tort liability.
I'll second that.
First and second, discussion or questions? Go ahead and vote.
Peterson.
Aye.
Teigs.
Aye.
Tao.
Aye.
Jones. Aye. Mayor Dimmers.
Aye. Motion to not waive. Say it again, not waive.
Not waive the liability.
The liability is approved. Resolutions we've covered. Consent calendar.
Make a motion to approve the municipal accounts payable without Breakthrough Beverage and Sanford Health, and approve the library minutes from 10/3/2019.
Second.
First and second. Discussion. Vote.
Jones. Aye. Peterson.
Aye.
Teigs.
Aye.
Tao.
Aye.
Mayor Dimmers.
Aye. Municipal accounts payable without Breakthrough Beverage and Sanford Health, and the library minutes are approved.
Make a motion to approve breakthrough beverage expenses.
Breakthrough Beverage.
Second.
First and second, discussion. Vote.
Tao.
Aye.
Jones. Aye. Peterson.
Aye.
Mayor Dimmers.
Aye. Breakthrough Beverage is approved. Sanford Health.
Motion to approve Sanford Health.
Second.
First and second, discussion. Vote.
Teigs.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Tao.
Aye.
Mayor Dimmers.
Aye. Sanford Health is approved. Unfinished business. To approve the interview of the 3 finalists for city administrator.
Send everybody the finalists until they accept the interview. They're still considered confidential.
So they will be referred to as candidate
Is it 1, 3, and 5?
1, 5, and 7.
1, 5, and 7. I'm looking for the folder here.
You are the holder of the paperwork, sir.
I accidentally arranged my icons in the where it used to be.
And when did we set the interview dates?
So that's what we need to set today.
Okay, I didn't know if we had sent it out, and are you available these days, or?
Tomorrow works for me.
Well, we have to post it. And so would Thursday work for people? Because we have to
Yeah.
post it
days.
for 3 days.
Yep.
We
Does
do it in the
Thursday work?
evening.
Thursday at like do a 6, 7, 8 type thing again? That type?
Yeah.
Does that work?
Is anybody Skyping in, or would anybody have to be Skyping in of these 3?
Yes, 2 of them.
2 of them would.
So then I'd 6, 7, 8 them.
So Thursday works for everyone?
Thursday works for me.
As a suggestion, whoever can be here, give them the 6 o'clock.
Yep.
Let the ones that are being Skyped in, let them know we will call them. So if things go faster, we can get out of here faster. But I think,
Well,
Well, I don't know.
give them the old 6:45 would,
Yeah.
type would be the
but
earliest.
I think whoever's willing to take the time to show up should get the interview first.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't know if it's a matter of taking the time to show up as far as,
Ability to show up.
yes.
It was in applicant 1, 5, and 7. So.
Should know I have to think back.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve the 3 finalists.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Discussion or questions? Go ahead and vote.
Jones.
Aye.
Tao.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Teigs.
Aye.
Mayor Dimmers.
Aye. So, the decision to interview the 3 finalists as presented by the committee is approved. Now we need a motion for interviews for Thursday, February 13th, beginning at what, 6 p.m.?
Yep. I'll make that motion.
Second?
First and second, any discussion or questions? Go ahead and vote.
Peterson.
Aye.
Teigs.
Aye.
Cow.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Mayor Dimmers.
Aye. So, interviews will be held the evening of Thursday, February 13th, beginning at 6 p.m. Do you want to handle those notifications, Shane, or do you want me to do it? Okay. We have nothing under new business. How about mayor and council communication? Anybody got anything? All right.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Go ahead and vote.
Peterson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Cow.
Aye.
Teigs.
Aye.
Anthony Dimmers.
Aye. We are now adjourned.